Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 72 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous one, the French Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That episode was uploaded quite late in the day, so you might have missed it, so definitely go check that one out before we continue on with this one. But going into Austria, which is usually quite a strong circuit for myself, and of course, infamously, we've had plenty of teammate battles in Season 2 and Season 3 here at the Red Bull Ring, obviously the home to the Red Bull team and the Red Bull outfit, so hopefully they'll have a good Grand Prix for their sake. They're the top team going into this weekend, with the top 4 teams all plateauing there, Renault, McLaren, Ferrari and Red Bull there, as well as Haas. Mercedes making a stride forward with looks like a major update there for them, and Toro Rosso still continue to upgrade with a minor upgrade there, so I'm still flummoxed at how Toro Rosso, out of all the teams, still managed to upgrade every single weekend since the Bahrain Grand Prix. They must have saved a lot of resource points coming off the back of Season 3, but we head straight into qualifying then. As you can clearly see, it is soaking here around Austria. So we had some rain in the race at France, and now we've got rain in qualifying here, and so we have to try and navigate our way through into Q2 in these quite tricky conditions, and only it's getting worse as the session goes on, because as we go through, the rain is coming down harder. So I went straight out as soon as we went green, got the setup on, changed the tyres, got the fuel, and I went straight out there, because as we go on through the session, it should be getting slower and slower as the rain comes down. It's already tricky enough. You can see having some issues with getting the traction down in 4th and 5th gear there. Very difficult Sector 2 here in Austria, because usually you are in 4th and 5th, the middle gears, and those are so easy to spin up the tyres. And through the last corner, a little bit wide with some grass on the left front tyre, but thankfully we're going to try and gain some time now on the second lap, like we have done many times before, filling up the car with more fuel than we need for one lap, so we can just do consecutive lap times, try and suss out where the grip is, see where we're losing time, and trying to gain it basically on the next lap. And we do basically do that, especially in Sector 2. You can see we're quite some way up there on the top right of our screen. So as we go through the last 2 corners, mine little screen freeze there as we go through the second last corner through to the last, riding the curve a fair bit and going very wide on the exit there. Not ideal, but we're going to have to make it work. And across the line, we're up into P3 then. So I thought that was a really decent lap time, actually. So I was feeling quite good about that, P3. But then as I moved on, we moved on to P11. You can see on the indicator, it's getting wetter, and it's now going to the 3 droplets of rain. So full wet. So I assumed, okay, I'm in P11. It went down from P3, fair enough. But P11, and it's only getting wetter now. It might be going to full wet by the end of the session. So I thought, okay, I'm pretty good. I think I'm all fine for that. We got to the end of the session. Clearly did not happen that way. And the kind of simulated timings, I don't know if it glitched again, but everyone seemed to gain time in a place in the session where they shouldn't have been able to gain time, because it was getting towards full wet conditions at the end of Q1, and I'm out of Q1 in P18. Also, Dan Ricciardo, one of my championship rivals, also gets caught up there. Remember, I'm in the middle of both Red Bulls, Verstappen and Ricciardo being the one in 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship, so he gets held up as well. And so both of us, 2 championship contenders out in Q1. Verstappen makes it through, and I'm just flummoxed, because, you know, we went through across the line in P3, went down to P11, that's fair enough, but I'm just astounded that everyone found so much time, because the indicators were telling me it was getting wetter by the minute. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really say much else apart from we have now a big job on our hands and a task on our hands on Sunday to come back in this Grand Prix after what is a pretty awful qualifying day for us. So, bit of a disaster way to start the weekend, but we're just going to have to suck it up and try and turn this thing around. So let's go to Sunday then, and hopefully we can do a lot better.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg, and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship, except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about the engineer. No grid penalties, no mitigating circumstances, just a poor qualifying performance and a very disappointing start position for them today.
They'll have a sinking feeling as they look up from the cockpit and realise they're in a different postcode to the start line for sure. But the one positive they can hold on to is that the car is quick and they can make their way through the field.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz, and Alonso, Magnussen, Verstappen, Hartley and Marcus Ericsson, Grosjean, Leclerc, Sergio Perez and Van Dorn, Ricciardo, Ocon, the engineer and Sergei Sorokin. Stroll and Pierre Gasly rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So here we are on the grid then, starting in P17 with Pierre Gasly right to the back with an engine penalty of some sort. So the strategy today, well, I think it probably will be a one-stop most likely. The two-stop has been the much better and faster strategy for us in all 3 seasons so far. Although time-wise, the two-stop is more, and you might get held up in traffic. So far, all 3 seasons, we've been faster on the two-stop because you just gain so much time on those ultra-soft tyres. So there's potential maybe to swap over the two-stop in the middle of the race, depending on where we are and what the situation looks like. But we'll start off with the one stop in mind, super soft tyres to the soft. So let's just get into this then. We know we had a disappointing day in Saturday yesterday in qualifying. Let's try and make it up for it as we go to 5 red lights for the Austrian Grand Prix, and we're underway from P17 on the grid, and hopefully it's a good comeback drive for us today as it's an okay start. The Williams car gets a bit of a better one in 3rd and 4th gears. We're going to turn 1 though, able to go around the outside of the Force India. Try to have a little look on Ricciardo there, but alas, I'm faced now stuck battling Esteban Ocon instead on the exit. The Force India has me there, so once again the Force India annoyingly pretty good in a straight line. We're going to go down the inside though and kind of follow Ricciardo through. A little bit of bump drafting there as we tap him slightly. Yellow flags behind us for some sort of issue maybe with Gasly trying to fight the Williams cars. We now try and dispatch of Esteban Ocon. Meanwhile, Ricciardo does the same thing pretty much on the right hand side there to the inside of Stoffel Van Dorn. So it looks like pretty much now at this stage I could say probably I think me and Ricciardo are going to be trying the exact same thing this entire Grand Prix, is trying to get through this traffic at the same point, because I'm trying to keep up with Ricciardo essentially, because he is a championship rival of mine. So if I can keep up with him and match him for pace, overtake for overtake, that'll be very ideal for me today, because there's no doubt that both of us will be able to try and contend for the top 10 hopefully by the time we get through the slower traffic, which I wouldn't say includes Van Dorn, but Van Dorn's down here for some reason. Of course, me being out of Q2 and Q3, the game did that usual thing where the qualifying times aren't exactly with the upgraded cars there with the Season 1 performance of cars. So Van Dorn, the man who did or was doing really well at the French Grand Prix last time until he made a horrible mistake, ironically actually being overtaken by Ricciardo, he's now down the order, way behind his teammate Fernando. Alonso did pretty okay in qualifying, but now we move on through the Grand Prix after we overtook Stoffel, cashing up to Ricciardo then, who's being stuck behind Sergio Perez and I think one of the Haas cars, so I can't quite tell, I think it's Romeo and Grosjean there, and so already the traffic is coming into play. So this might be the deciding factor. If we can't get through this type of traffic, then we really might have to stick to the one stop, because at the moment I'm still considering the two stop if we can get through these guys fast enough. But it's Magnussen actually, so my bad, my old teammate from season 1 and 2, Magnussen being overtaken by Ricciardo. I think he's got ahead of Perez, I can't quite tell. But now as we move on to lap 5, still behind Magnussen, who's now trying to overtake Sergio Perez into turn 1, and Ricciardo's actually getting away from these two. And at this point now, looking at the mini-map, I would say I think the two stops now slowly going out of range, and I think we are going to have to commit to the one stop just because I've lost far too much time basically in these last 2 laps essentially. If I got past these 2 guys straight away, maybe on the very beginning of lap 4, maybe still could have pulled it off, because with the clean air we could have pushed on, but these guys are now really holding me up. Magnussen, you saw there, I tried to make a move on the outside, didn't work. Now we're going to make a double overtake down the inside, or attempt to at least, with a lock-up on the front tyre. Tiny bit of contact I think was made between myself and Sergio Perez, but the FIA haven't said anything about it. No pop-up there on screen display, so we're up the order by 2 places. So very nice move there up into P13, and now we can use the clean air ahead of us to chase after Ricciardo, and the same can be said for Ricciardo, who's chasing after a pack of the 2 Saubers, I believe. Meanwhile, for the lead of the Grand Prix then, it was a Mercedes front row of course because of the glitch qualifying, but here goes now Hulkenberg using that actual pace of the Season 4 Renault upgrade. The Renault Works team obviously much improved this season, so Hulkenberg up into the lead now of the Grand Prix. It looks like, yeah, cleanly past Hamilton. 3rd place is Raikkonen, and behind them Fernando Alonso fights Bottas then, just that position behind Raikkonen. And then also you've got the other Renault of Sainz close behind, so I would expect Sainz to eventually make his way up the order, past at least the Mercedes car. Maybe the McLaren could put up a good fight there, because the McLaren's still technically in the top 4 teams on performance. Then you got the Toro Rosso actually ahead of Verstappen there, so I think that's Brendan Hartley ahead of Verstappen so far. So the lead Red Bull sponsored car at the Red Bull Ring today so far is Brendan Hartley. It's not actually Verstappen, so very, very odd situation there. But like I said, from that aerial shot, you can see Ricciardo was chasing after this group, including 2 Saubers. He's actually caught up to them, and he's being held up so much by them that now I've caught up to Ricciardo, and we're going to make this a bit of a 5-way train almost. So we've got DRS up the hill. I don't think it's going to be enough quite to make an overtake yet, so I'm going to back out of that, go down to none ERS on purpose, and just save up the battery and just kind of take my time with this and be patient. Don't want to lop off my front wing here. And look at this now, great opportunistic move on Ricciardo as he loses the back end. But we know how good the Red Bull is on acceleration from the previous episodes, and Ricciardo, you always know with him, he's going to give it a good go, and he makes a big dive down my inside there, pushes me wide, and so it's a fantastic re-overtaking move there. We're going to do a bit of a switch move on the right hand side. He's going to cover off the inside there. I lost the back end though a little bit, so that wasn't really my complete choice to go on the right hand side of the circuit, but Ricciardo maintains the inside line. I try my best to hang it around the outside, but then on the next left hander you see I just get hit with a wash of dirty air, so we have to stay behind P13. So this time round, the traffic being holding me up, really, you know, it's to be expected. Obviously the Red Bull's going to give me a much bigger fight than these other cars, so now it's 3 wide between the other Haas car Grosjean and the 2 Saubers of Ericsson and Leclerc. Great battling between those 3, and we re-overtake Ricciardo now for the 2nd time in this same spot, and this time I cleverly back off and kind of cover off the inside line to Ricciardo. So I'm going to now wash out the car to the wide, and we're going to keep that position then and shove off Ricciardo, and now we'll try and chase after Grosjean and overtake him if we can swiftly. You can see he's going quite slowly. I think he's getting really held up by the Saubers as well, so it's pretty crucial now that I can try and get past these 3 cars as soon as I can, because look on the minimap there, there's so much clean air ahead of the 2 Saubers. So we're going to go down the inside of Romeo and Grosjean there, what is usually a near flat out right hander in qualifying. We're going to go down the inside, and now we'll be right up the back of Marcus Ericsson and Charles Leclerc. So now on to the next straight. We'll have DRS, of course, after turn 1. Leclerc, though, has got DRS on his teammate and has a little bit of a look to the inside there, but nothing comes of it, and ultimately might get a bad enough exit that I can try one into the hairpin maybe. But actually that Sauber has got some brilliant acceleration and straight line speed. Obviously we saw that from all the way in round 1, the Australian Grand Prix, when Ericsson attacked me at Melbourne. We know how good the Sauber can be in a straight line, so this might be a tricky overtake than I want it to, as now Leclerc goes around the outside. Great overtake by him on his teammate, and now we're going to try and also overtake his teammate, but it's proving a little bit difficult here with DRS open for both of us now. We're down the inside of the sweep. Can we push him out and make this overtake and go down the inside of both Saubers? No, we can't, and look at that, he actually waltzes past me with the acceleration he has, although in the corner that's a different story. I have the superior downforce, so the Sauber might have it in traction and acceleration, but in the corner, pure downforce, pure downforce. I've got the better car purely. So we're up into P10, and now can we try and make it P9 on the outside of Leclerc on the next lap, lap 11. He goes very defensive, compromises his line though as he goes too deep into turn 1. So now can we get a good run? Overtake mode on ERS, of course. DRS open on the left-hand side. Bit of grass on the left-hand tyre, so I kind of sway a little bit with the DRS open. He's going to go defensive. We're going to try and switch this back on him to the right-hand side. It's a textbook switchback move there. Get the power down earlier than he can, but the job is by no means over there, because look on the left-hand side, Leclerc's going to come back there, so that Sauber really is a bit too good in a straight line in a way compared to the works Ferrari. We scrub off the speed and go wide, trying to kind of push him wide, but he just brakes earlier and does a switchback on me, and now we also get attacked by Ericsson. So this is exactly the type of traffic I did not need today. And in the junior Ferrari car, I mean, Leclerc should already be on thin ice technically. He took out Kimi Raikkonen at the Spanish Grand Prix, and now he's holding up the lead Ferrari man here in this race whilst he tries to recover in this race. So Leclerc clearly not trying to do any favours for Arriva Bene and the entire Ferrari team this afternoon, really holding me up. And so now we go down the inside of him in the hairpin. Now can we scrub him off and try and get away from him, try and desperately get the power down up the ERS modes, obviously into overtake mode as we got up to the higher gears, and obviously try and get away from him. Again, we'll go defensive to the inside. He'll try on the outside line. This time, though, I'm not going to brake too late and try and wash wide. We're just going to keep tight on the corner. He's still there, though, because he did get the better entry to that corner, actually. So we're still side by side. Really squeeze him to the left-hand side. Now swoop on the outside. And just like we did to Ericsson, we find the grip and the downforce on the left-hander, and we're up the order finally in P8, and now hopefully we can get away from him. Although the fact I was in standard next year probably didn't help me in that kind of respect, because I think obviously I was trying to save some fuel in that Grand Prix, but now we'll try and get away and push on, and we basically try and go as long as we can to make this one-stop work, and that's indeed what we do. And so as we move on all the way to lap 18 then from lap 12, we're now leading the Grand Prix because all the guys ahead of us, the top 7, have made their first pit stop in the Grand Prix. So I lead the Grand Prix, having not pit yet, from Hülkenberg to Raikkonen in 3rd place. Actually, looks like Kimi's jumped Fernando Alonso there in P4, but just ahead of Carlos Sainz, and then the Mercedes of Hamilton. Then you got the Force India ahead of Verstappen, and then a big old train behind them. So that's going to be a whole gaggle of cars that I assume is going to go fighting hammer and tong, as there goes actually talking about that fighting. Verstappen down the inside then of the Force India car, trying to get through that traffic, because remember the Force India I think is trying a one-stop along with us today, whereas Verstappen was top of that top pack that already made one pit stop in this Grand Prix. But back to our POV then, we're moving on now to lap 20. So we've taken these super soft tyres, an age-old in this Grand Prix there, and that's going to mean Hülkenberg is going to soon fly past us probably. There's no point really fighting him because he's not in my race technically. He goes around my outside and he's going to be up into 1st place. Raikkonen also right up my chuff. I'm not going to put up too much of a fight for him, so I'm going to go down to none ERS, let him through, because I'm not fighting him at the moment. He might have a chance to overtake Hülkenberg, I don't know, so I'm just going to let them go. But since we've gone to lap 20, like I said, very long time, and I've been almost inspired by Leclerc, the AI, what he's done in this race. We're going to go onto a set of ultra soft tyres, so we're still doing a one-stop, but we're going to go super softs to ultras instead of super soft to soft tyres, and I've only done that. I looked at what Leclerc was doing. Obviously, he was fighting us earlier on in this race. He was on ultra soft tyres, and he took those tyres 16 laps before he pit for super soft, and so essentially I used that as a baseline of, okay, I'll just do the opposite. So I've gone until lap 20, which is 16 laps remaining in this Grand Prix, and so I'll go on to ultras, and I know I can take them that long because Leclerc took them 16 laps on the Sauber, and hopefully the Ferrari should have better tyre wear than the Sauber car. So kind of used him as a benchmark and kind of copied his strategy and just flipped it round, because we started on the supers of course, and so now we're on the fastest compounder tyre going to the end of the Grand Prix. We're out in P11. We are ironically actually behind Leclerc, but we just need to be patient because of course in the previous 2 seasons we saw the difference in time between ultra soft tyres and the super softs here in race conditions. So hopefully we will catch up to Leclerc, and 3 laps later we are doing just that, and also we're catching up to, surprise, my teammate who's done a second stop in this Grand Prix. He's actually come out but right ahead of me behind Leclerc. So earlier on when Raikkonen was up there with me and Hülkenberg, I just assumed he was fighting Hülkenberg for the race lead maybe, and I was actually quite happy about his performance then, because it speaks more about the car then in quite promising terms. Obviously I've been talking about how the car's not there to fight for the championship, but if Raikkonen was fighting for a win, that would have been mega. But no, he's actually down here with us then in the bottom half of the top 10, so clearly the car still has a lot of work to do if Kimi had no issues in qualifying and he's still down here in the lower half of the top 10. So yeah, we'll move past that and talk about that later at the end of this race. But let's just get past Leclerc then with the DRS wide open, try and join Kimi then on track, trying to get through this traffic essentially almost, because a few of these cars are kind of cars I would expect to overtake quite easily, and we do overtake Leclerc now very easily this time around with a faster combiner tyre. This time we're in rich mix as well, so that helps out as well with the engine power, and so we're up into P9. We'll close up to Brent Hartley then, who's been overtaken already by my teammate Raikkonen then, although Hartley's going to go for a re-overtaking move on Kimi then. Will he go defensive enough? No, bit of contact there on the front left, so Raikkonen's left a little bit off balance, and so now we can maybe have a pass and a shot at Raikkonen if we dare on the left-hand side. It's going to be a little bit too close though for comfort, so I'm going to back out of that on purpose and just wait maybe for Raikkonen to re-overtake Hartley, because I don't want there to be any contact with Raikkonen, especially because technically obviously I'm the one making the comeback drive. I don't really deserve to hold up Kimi's race. You know, he's doing his own thing. He's been there from the start of the Grand Prix, so if he's got a plan of action, I don't want to kind of hold that up because I'm the one recovering in this race. So I just want to take this a bit more patiently. So we will wait later on. Once Raikkonen does re-overtake Hartley, we'll now try and do the job and the business on the Kiwi man in the Toro Rosso car. Can't quite get him into turn 1, but we'll now try up the hill. Maybe DRS here, but we'll have a second bite of the cherry, of course, after the hairpin, so that might be the more likely place where we make an overtake. That Toro Rosso, as of late, has got some good slipstream power, and so he might try and make another move on Raikkonen as Kimi goes a little bit wide there with a lock-up. Holds up Hartley, though, enough that we make a switch move on him from left to right and we're up into P8 there. So Raikkonen in the end actually helps me out a little bit. And so now both of us will start to catch up to the cars ahead. We've got 6 laps left though in this Grand Prix. See, I've got the heads-up display on the right-hand side opened up on the tyre temperatures because obviously, although Leclerc took these tyres 16 laps, I was still a little bit doubtful. So I was definitely taking some of these corners very easy, you know, the long corners where there's a lot of work going into the tyre carcass. I was just taking them a little bit easier, lifting off a little bit earlier to make sure I protect these tyres because at the end of the day, I want to get to the end of the Grand Prix more than anything really on these tyres. And so we move on then to lap 32, still trying to hopefully protect the tyres, but at the same time now, Raikkonen's gone and overtaken Valtteri Bottas. So if we can try and do the same, that'd be quite perfect. But these two now go side by side as Bottas comes back in the second phase of the straight there. We make a little bit of a dive down the inside, but then back out of it very dramatically in the brake zone there, because I don't want to try and hold up Raikkonen. As I said, if you can overtake Bottas, and I'll try and overtake Bottas afterwards, that'll be kind of the more perfect scenario here. So here we go now through the first turn on lap 33. The next lap, Bottas again will have DRS on Kimi, but this time around he's not as close as he was earlier to maybe make a pop, or maybe he will actually. There he goes down the inside. It's a big dive there from the Finn. So Finn v Finn, and who knew Bottas was that aggressive there? Maybe it's only an F1 game thing clearly, as Bottas now is unable to get him though on the left hand side. Kimi does some good defensive work. We're going to try and go down the inside of both of them. We back out though because I don't want to send one and absolutely wreck Kimi into that corner, and to a left once again, just waiting a little bit patiently. Kimi goes again defensive on the next left hander and fends off Bottas here. It's only a matter of time though, I feel, that will overtake the Mercedes car, because it's such a poor car obviously compared to the Ferrari. And that might just be now lap 34, 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix, including this one. We now have DRS once again. The engine temperatures are getting a little bit high there on the right hand side. Actually, that's the first time I've seen the engine temperatures creep up that high into a yellow icon on the heads-up display, so that's a little bit worrying. But we go down the inside of Bottas then to make the move eventually on P7, and so I think that will be probably the end of our overtaking escapade as we go through the last 2 corners then to finish up in P6 and P7 there. P7 being near my teammates okay enough if you take into account where I was at the start of this Grand Prix, but clearly the car, like I said, still has a lot of work to do, because Kimi was nowhere near the top guys in the end of this then.
Bad luck. It just wasn't our day today.
A great win then for the Renault team today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. But credit to the driver as well though, there's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
As we can see, it's time for the podium, and I can see the Renault team underneath our commentary box going crazy as their drivers walk out. It was a great win, and it means a great deal to this team.
So in the end of it, it was a fantastic day then for the Renault Works team, and finally a kind of proof of concept that their car really is now maybe championship material, with a 1-2 for Hulkenberg winning the race, his second win of the season. Remember, he won earlier on, and Carlos Sainz gets second place. He managed to overtake Alonso then eventually in that race, because we saw him earlier behind Alonso, so he gets the better of the more senior Spaniard. Verstappen, though, in a good P4, so ultimately Verstappen will extend the lead and Drivers' Championship with that P4 to my P7, and Hulkenberg, who was in P4 I believe in the Drivers' Championship, will close up on us a little bit, as well as Ricciardo, who did quite poorly in that race actually overall. So Hulkenberg actually climbs up to 3rd in the championship, and it's all actually quite close between myself and Hulkenberg and Ricciardo, and Verstappen has a decent enough healthy lead if you take into account how competitive this season's been. A 12-point gap's actually pretty damn good for Verstappen, because it has been a very competitive season. You know, Red Bull, Renault, at times us, McLaren, we've all been up there. The Toro Rossos have been ran randomly up there as well, depending on the strategy as well. So it has been a very hectic season, a very enjoyable one so far. But we obviously still have a bit of an issue here in this phase of the season. You know, we still got a bit of Ferrari syndrome. You know, one, we just need to cut our mistakes and kind of perform when we know we can perform, a la kind of maybe yesterday in qualifying. You know, hopefully we don't get as much bad luck as we have done in the last kind of 4 rounds. And then number 3, we just need to improve the car and improve the outright pace, because Kimi didn't have much bad luck today. It's just poor strategy work, which is, I guess, number 4, cut out the bad Ferrari strategies, because they're still creeping in for Kimi there. I don't know why on earth he did a 2-stop, because if he did a 1-stop, he would have been fighting HOCKENHEIM for a podium or a win. So, yeah, still a lot of work to do. But clearly, never give up. I knew what I was getting into. Ferrari historically has been a team like that all over the place, and hopefully I can try and bring a bit of calmer head and clear thought and consistency to the team eventually. But it's still kind of, you know, it takes a fair bit of time to drill that kind of characteristic out of a team like Ferrari, so we still have a lot of time to go. But anyway, talking about improvements to the car, we're going to talk about R&D upgrades then, and looking at probably improving not only the engine, but first and foremost, I was also thinking the chassis as well, of trying to just get some more lightweightness into the car, maybe, to try and improve the general movability of the car, and try and increase maybe the likelihood of us making overtakes, because of course the chassis weight reduction does help in the acceleration department. So we're going to go for a minor chassis weight reduction, which will come in for the very next episode, and then I'm going to go for a big ol' update on the ERS there, and go for an ultimate ERS update. So that's going to allow us to use the ERS modes a bit more efficiently, maybe use overtake mode and hot lap mode a lot more in the Grand Prix. That will help a lot, and so that will be a kind of long-term update that will come in 3 races time. But to the next episode, we'll get that minor chassis update in, and also that ultimate tyre upgrade will actually come in next episode as well. So it could be a double whammy that we get next time out. So looking forward to that. So guys, if you did enjoy this episode, then a good comeback, I would say, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're not did, you can subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been over. Hope you enjoyed today, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.